Greetings friends, today I will briefly tell you about the new episodes of the Grimm series. If you wonder what happened in the past episodes, there are links to the previous episodes in the attached commentary. Enjoy watching. To begin, we are shown the events half a year ago when the Lionhorn Donald Nydaria, in anger because his wife wore the wrong dress, kills his beloved hoarder, and this does not go unnoticed. Back in the present day, Nick asks Monroe to show a trailer with mythical elements to his wife who has lost her memory, thanks to a terrible spell, so that she can remember him and their relationship is back to normal. When Monroe's friend Rosalie becomes one of the jurors in the previously mentioned wife murder case, curious circumstances are revealed. It turns out that Nydaria's lawyer is somehow influencing the jury and key witnesses to turn the murder into a suicide. Meanwhile, Monroe and Juliet arrive at the trailer, where she slowly begins to recall the events of her first time in the trailer with Nick, when Aunt Marie was hospitalized. Monroe tries to convince Juliet that Aunt Marie was a collector of folklore and weapons. Suddenly there are many Nicks everywhere and, frightened, Juliet runs out of the trailer. On his return to the spice shop, Monroe catches Rosalie in poor health and offers to take her to court tomorrow. In the meantime, he stops by Nick's house and he tells him that after a long time, his mother has contacted him. She is fine, and she also coded in a message that the coins that led people to a vague sense of power, one of which incidentally was used by Hitler, she has hidden securely and it is unlikely that anyone will find them. Afterwards, Monroe talks about her successes with Juliet and asks her not to press her. The next day, while in the courtroom, he suspects something is amiss, and during a break he goes to get a lawyer. Noticing a fallen frog, Monroe assumes that he is a goat herder, and then takes matters into his own hands, dragging Nick and Hank along as well. After attending the trial, the detectives become convinced that the moment the Lionhorn's lawyer takes on the witness, the latter unknowingly changes his testimony, confirming that the suicide occurred that night. Juliet's hallucinations resurface, forcing her to invite in a woman who had already sensed something was wrong with the girl a little earlier. However, today she warns her that the girl stands on the edge of light and darkness, which means that her adventure is just beginning. The team begins searching for the means to neutralize the goathorn pheromones. Of course, the recipe for a suitable potion is found, and through complicated manipulations in which they make the goathorn run and get his sweat, they do make it. But now the found remedy must be injected into the toad. And while Nick and Hank distract the lawyer, Monroe sneaks into his room for this purpose, but two toads end up in the suitcase. And at the expense of the lack of a clear option, Monroe enters at random and informs the detectives after the operation. The witch Adalind arrives at Captain Renard's brother's house and tells him that he failed to get the Grimm's key, so Eric wishes to visit his brother in the near future. Fortunately, the goat herder accepts this particular toad, and the jury accepts the verdict that the defendant is guilty. The heroes gather at the shop and are already beginning to celebrate their victory, when suddenly the lawyer comes to the spice shop to get a cure. Horrified, he sees everyone involved in the trial and in extracting his sweat, since he was one of the ingredients, and realizes who robbed him of his powers. Nick arrests him for assaulting Rosalie in the process, and Nydaria ends up in the detention center next door to him. Meanwhile, Juliet feels intense discomfort from the fact that after visiting Nick's trailer, all the memories start coming back at once. As a result, she sees many images of Nick talking at the same time. The beginning of a new episode called Vulcanalis, a female geologist finds a fumarole and takes the rocks as souvenirs. But when she leaves Mount Hood encounters a man who claims she cannot take the rocks, but after using pepper spray she leaving the man behind. But he turns out to be a new Taurus Armenta being. Our beloved Hank is sent on vacation because he hasn't gone on vacation in 4 years. Meanwhile, in her home, Juliet discovers several nicks of bygone memories. Trying to get away from them, she gets in her car and drives off, but crashes into a parked car. At the same time in Vienna, Frau Pesch asks Adalinda to go with her to the Queen of the Romanian Black Forest, Stefania Văduvă-Popescu. Nick decides to visit Juliet in the hospital, but she chases him away because of her paranoid thoughts, and the same woman geologist in her home feels a faint earthquake, and after that is attacked by a fiery creature. The boys are supportive of Nick in the sense that Juliet chased him away, but lead him to accept that he won't be with Juliet anymore. Nick is summoned to a murder in which someone's hands were clearly hot, as there is literally not a living thing on the victim's neck. On the cameras they find her records from the mountains, but there is nothing useful there. Juliet visits Pilar, who advises the girl not just to try to remember things, but to enter her memories. Meanwhile, Adalind and Frau Pesch arrive at the Gypsy Tabor, where Stefania is about to signify the importance of the child's true value with this equipment. Nick and Wu accompany the supervisor of the dead woman geologist Tom Evans to Mount Hood, where he takes some rocks to study. When they return to the car, they find the windows in it broken. Nick spots the man and pursues him, then apprehends him and he is taken to the station. When Adalind wakes up and the child's value is confirmed, the former witch refuses to take $750,000 for the child and demands that her witch powers be restored. At the station, Nick and Renard interrogate Marcus Hemming and learn from him about Vulcanalis and how he kills those who take stones from his mountain. The cops go to the chief of the deceased and fail to rescue the geologist in time, but stumble upon a giant of magma who burns everything he touches. He flees the house, and Nick pursues him until the unknown creature literally falls underground. At home, Juliet successfully tries to become part of her memories, while in the trailer Nick and Monroe find information about the creature, which is Marcus Hemmings, and Vulcanalis, who is not a creature at all, but some kind of demon who once played a major role in the death of Pompeii. At Mount Hood, Nick, Marcus, Monroe and Renard collect the stones and transport them to an empty warehouse. When Vulcanalis appears, they direct jets of liquid nitrogen at him, causing the demon to completely solidify, and Marcus, as a vigilante, smashes Vulcanalis with a sledgehammer. Juliet finds the ring box and relives the moment when Nick proposed to her.